Well, cod isn't the only thing that we have extracted from the environment. We've extracted a lot, and this is a series of workshops that I've been doing for the past couple of years on how do you identify a trigger point in the environment? How do you identify a point where you can intervene? This particular workshop was in New York, and it was with a group of art, mostly artists and art people, some of whom were activists for fracking. I don't know if you're all familiar with the term fracking, but what it is the process of drilling for natural gas. And the consequences of that drilling are often that an entire watershed is completely destroyed by the poisons that they inject in order to extract the gas. And the outcome of this particular workshop, which was about fracking, this was in October of 2010, a little more than a year ago, when we thought it was hopeless to stop fracking in New York State. The outcome was, there are actually more of us than there are of them. And at that moment we thought, even though that might be true, it might be insufficient. Well, I can tell you that we have now stopped fracking in New York State, in Delaware, and possibly in Pennsylvania. So that was the power of trying to act out a relationship between metaphors embodied in people. What I did was I had each person act out one aspect of the problem. So one person was water, one person was a landowner, one person was the community, and so on. We all physically interacted, trying to understand what happened when ideas become bodies, and then we discussed what we had learned from it. The other way that I learned is in webcasts that I've been doing for several years with a small group of scientists that I've been working with for a long time. These are called Gulf to Gulf, and what we've specifically been looking at is the relationship between problems in the Gulf of Maine and extraction and climate change issues there, and the kinds of problems such as the loss of fisheries in the Gulf of Maine. Did I say the Gulf of Maine? I meant the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of Maine. So if you want to, you can go online and take a look at some of these conversations. And there are visuals that came out of these conversations. The visuals that have emerged from my process of thinking and living through these problems, I think of as almost throwaways. They aren't really throwaways, but the real process is trying to understand what's going on and what can I do about it. But in the process, I think through what the solutions and problems are by creating visuals. And this one, obviously, is that the problem in the Gulf of Maine and the BP spill was that water and money got in the way of each other when they tried to extract the oil, and that's what caused the BP spill. The other way that I learned is from Facebook. I have about 2,400 friends, and we talk about a lot of stuff. And last night I talked about being here and being on this panel. And by seeing what people say, not just responses to what I think, but seeing what they're talking about today or yesterday, I have a way to reconsider my own thinking. So this becomes a kind of crowdsourcing about education, how I'm being educated in this teachable moment and how we are all educating each other. And this is what I actually work with. I work with data sets of how many fish and crabs and other kinds of species are collected. The problem in the Gulf of Maine is that in 1865, an invasive species was introduced, the European green crab. And what has happened is the European green crab has eaten every possible fish or other species that it can get a hold of. And so although it looked as though in that map that I showed you there were a lot of cod, the truth is if you look at it, for example, in one of these later columns, there are no cod in the collections. There are a few silver-side fish, there's some mummy chubs. 1 minute, thank you. And there are an awful lot of green crabs. The ratio is something like 1,000 to 1. So in a very short time, unless we solve this problem, will not be any fish in the Gulf of Maine.